Sapiens in 20 Minutes. Why Humans Took Over the World. Yuval Noah Harari wrote a book that tries to explain the entire history of the human species, from the moment we walked out of Africa to the moment we built spaceships. He compressed 70,000 years into 400 pages, and he answered one of the strangest questions in history. Why did our species take over the planet while every other human species disappeared? You are about to get the heart of his answer in the next few minutes. If you have ever wondered what makes humans different from every other animal, the honest answer used to be tools, or language, or intelligence. Harari throws all three out. Many animals use tools. Many species communicate. Plenty of creatures are intelligent in ways we do not fully understand. None of those explanations capture what makes our species unique, and the real answer is stranger than the textbook version. Here is the idea that holds the entire book together. Humans took over the world because we can believe in things that do not exist. Money, nations, religions, companies, laws, none of these are real in the way a tree or a river is real. They exist because millions of people agree to act as if they exist. Harari calls these shared fictions, and he argues that the ability to invent and believe in them is the single trait that separates us from every other species on Earth. You should sit with how wild this idea actually is. Two strangers from opposite sides of the planet can cooperate because they both believe in the same fiction. A piece of paper, a flag, a god. Those shared beliefs let humans organize themselves into groups of millions, then billions. No other animal can pull this off. Chimpanzees can cooperate in small bands. They cannot run a stock exchange. The difference is fiction. Stay with this, because Harari then walks through three giant turning points in human history. He calls them the cognitive revolution, the agricultural revolution, and the scientific revolution. Each one changed how we lived, what we believed, and what kind of fictions we built to hold our societies together. Skip any one of them, and the modern world you live in does not exist. Here is the first one. The cognitive revolution happened around 70,000 years ago. Something changed in the human brain that allowed our ancestors to imagine things that were not there. They began telling stories. They created spirits, gods, and ancestors. They organized hunts using strategies that required dozens of people to share a plan in their heads. The change was small in biological terms, but enormous in its effects, and our species started spreading across the globe almost immediately. You should know what this revolution actually cost. As humans spread across continents, large animals disappeared. The mammoths of North America, the giant kangaroos of Australia, the huge flightless birds of New Zealand. Harari argues that humans were the cause. We did not just survive in new environments. We rewrote them. The story of human migration is also the story of mass extinction, and the pattern repeated everywhere we landed. Now picture the second turning point. The agricultural revolution started around 12,000 years ago when humans began farming. Most people assume this was a triumph. Harari disagrees. He calls agriculture history's biggest fraud. Yes, farming produced more food, but the lives of individual farmers were harder than the lives of the hunter-gatherers who came before them. They worked longer hours. They ate worse diets. They got sick more often. Their bones show signs of malnutrition and damage that hunter-gatherer bones do not. Stay with this, because the argument is provocative on purpose. Harari is not saying farming was a mistake. He is saying that what looked like progress for the species was misery for the individual. Wheat domesticated humans more than humans domesticated wheat. We bent our spines to weed fields. We tied ourselves to specific patches of land. We invented property, and property invented inequality. The world you live in, with all its hierarchies and complications. Religions evolved from small spirit worship into massive systems with priests, temples, and holy books. Money appeared as a fiction that allowed strangers to trade across vast distances. Empires rose, fell, and rose again. All of it ran on shared stories that millions of people agreed to believe. You should also pay attention to how Harari describes empire. He argues that almost everyone alive today benefits from empires they would also condemn. The languages we speak, the food we eat, the borders we live within, all of it was shaped by conquests that involved enormous suffering. Empires are morally messy. They are also responsible for much of what we now call civilization. Pretending otherwise leaves us with a sanitized version of history that explains nothing. Now move into the third turning point. The scientific revolution began around 500 years ago when Europeans started admitting they did not know things. This sounds simple, but it changed everything. Earlier civilizations believed all important knowledge was already known by ancestors, gods, or sacred texts. Western Europe broke that pattern. Curiosity became respectable. Experiments became central. Within a few centuries, humans went from sailing wooden ships to sending probes past the edge of the solar system. Stay with this, because Harari has a sharp point to make about why science took off in Europe specifically. It was not because Europeans were smarter than anyone else. It was because the recognition of ignorance happened to combine with empire, capitalism, and a willingness to fund risky projects. The scientific revolution rode on top of the imperial expansion that came with it. The two reinforced each other, and the world map you grew up with reflects that combination. Now think about what happened next. Industrial machines replaced animal labor. Medicine extended life. Communication shrank the planet. By the 20th century, humans had more power than any species in the history of the planet. We had also built tools capable of destroying ourselves several times over. The question Harari asks, and the question the book leaves with you, is whether power and wisdom are growing together, or whether one has raced ahead of the other. Here is the part that lands hardest in 2026. Harari finishes the book by pointing toward the future. He argues that humans are now on the edge of changing what it means to be human at all. Genetic engineering, artificial intelligence, brain-computer interfaces. Each of these technologies has the potential to alter the species itself. We may be the last generation of humans who lived through a world we did not redesign from the inside. You should also know about one of the most uncomfortable arguments in the book. Harari writes that human happiness has not actually improved as our civilization has advanced. He cites research suggesting that hunter-gatherers may have been happier than modern office workers. The reasons are complex. Stronger community bonds, more physical activity, less abstract worry about distant futures. Whether you accept his conclusion or not, the question itself is worth sitting with. Progress in technology has not produced equivalent progress in human well-being, and Harari forces you to confront that gap directly. Now consider what this means for how we measure success as a species. Most economic data tracks growth, output, and consumption. None of it tracks whether the average human life feels meaningful. Harari is not arguing for a return to the past. He is arguing that we should be honest about what our progress has and has not delivered. That honesty changes the questions we ask about the future, and it changes the kind of civilization we might choose to build next. If you only take one thing from Sapiens, take this. Our species rules the planet because we tell stories. Those stories built our cities, our economies, and our identities. They can also rebuild them. The question for the next chapter of human history is not whether we have the power to change. We do. The question is which stories we choose to tell ourselves next.